tenure, the organization of spaces by itself, and the open, close, and other relationships. See, in basic, if you had to open up a common presentation, no, if you had to look at how space is made and other things, you go with this. You have read Ching in for many years. So this is like any other presentation that would go about with understanding what will be a space, what is a roof, what is a floor. So all this you know already. So that is also part of space making, be it Indian, traditional, or Western, or contemporary, whatever it is. Those factors are the same. See, the tabulation that you did initially, no, line, point, all that applies here. So here I'm going to go one stage further. Okay, so one stage further ahead, and I'm going to explain you about the intricacies, a few select concepts that Yatin Pandya had defined, or what to call it, the terms that he had coined. So, if such things, or he has reaffirmed it in terms of Indian context. So, we're going to look at those. Initially, I had took you through the inner, inside, and outside kinesthetics of one example, that is Tiruvannamalai Temple. I don't know, one out of the day I did that lecture. So that is kinesthetics. Kinesthetics is something that would take you through a space because of your movement, because of that day or that time of the day, you get a particular experience. See, this experience you will not get in the night, and this experience you will not get during 12 noon, or this experience you will not get during the time the sun is on this side of the building. So this happens, this event happens, or this particular experience you get in a particular place only in one particular time of the day. I think you guys agree with that. So why is that so? And these kind of things make our architectural examples a masterpiece. When we look at it in uh, what to say, when compared to the current buildings that we are doing versus what we have been doing over in the past century or few centuries ago, that stands still and they have a different experience. So we are going to look at what makes it that way. So these are definitions that he provides. This is exactly excerpts from the book of Yatan Pandya. So these will have a lot of headings and all that. So I want you guys to understand the concept and try to put the um, experience from your perspective. Just like how I did for one temple, I want you guys to understand topics like this from your perspective and give your opinion. So, firstly, we are going to look at how time space is important and how the chemistry or the equation of it works well. And then we are going to look at the existence of duality. So, duality is nothing but two opposite things, and we find this in semiotics, that is, symbols. We find it in beliefs. For instance, Eastern or Asian cultures predominantly believe in dualities, the masculine, feminine, the yin and yang, the Ardhanarishwar. All these are examples of how duality coexist, or how they work together or with each other or against each other or things like that. So we're going to look at all these. These are the two major topics that we're going to look at today. So alchemy of time over space, and the term that we're going to see is kinesthetics. So what happens in time and space? See, for instance, this is an abstraction of the entire cosmos. It is believed to have evolved from, someone is saying something. Okay. So this is an abstraction of an atom, or that is how this entire dancing sculpture of Nataraja has been designed or abstracted. Or there could have been a very beautiful artist, I mean, a very talented artist who had done abstraction years ago. So this is like the ultimate cosmos, and when you look at it close, no, this time I can look at time's parameter in various ways. So this entire thing is a dance, or a dance frozen at particular time. And when you look at the outer ring, the overall aesthetics of the sculpture, it varied over a period of time as well. So early Chola was a different aesthetic, later Chola was a different aesthetic. So the overall understanding of this changes over time. The way the facial expressions were done also changes over time. I'm not just looking at the time as abstracted in this culture, also about how this culture evolved over a period of time also. So when you look at things in that way, you will understand aesthetics, Indian aesthetics, in a multiple a layered, complex theory. Like, if you have time, you can go and read texts of Kapila Vatsyayan. She's a very famous aesthetic, Indian aesthetics writer, theorist. So yeah, that's addition. So here we also think about predominantly our cultures, East predominantly. We believe in rebirth. We believe in birth, death, and rebirth. So all these symbolisms will be seen in our buildings, artifacts, and the things that we use, etc. So yes, time is not static; it is very dynamic, and our beliefs make it. I might be a little. I mean, these theories might be a little complex, but when you can adhere it to some example of that, no, it will be interesting. So yeah, this one photograph, as I was telling you about how light plays a, this will be only once a day. This will not happen over a week also. If one day is very sunny, or one day is very cloudy, one day is raining, the entire week your experience in this space will be different, because this is the Garbhagriha, and there is a small opening around the apse of it. This has got a curvy apse. This temple is 10th century Chola temple here in Tirvirkad. So this has got a curvy apse, curvy Garbhagriha, or the inner sanctum, and there is a small gap around it. Always temples which have this beautiful small gap between the heavy, thick layers of walling material, no, they provide beautiful lighting. So for me, time, alchemy of time over space, or the kinesthetic experience, other than the one that I showed in the elaborate slide, no, this is what is literally time over space for me. And yeah, this is just a basic. Time applied over space doesn't remain the same; it keeps changing. And the way you use the space again creates multiple events. One event happen in a place over a period of time for a particular reason. So many things are layered in a particular building, and this is literally seen in traditional buildings like temples and vernacular houses and other areas, other old buildings of India. So again, yeah, this was what I was talking about. So this is literally kinesthetics and time and space for me, literal examples. So yes, in your movement and your spatial perception varies. So before we saw about how a single space varies over time. So now I'm just taking you around a temple. I mean, around a, because why I'm taking repeated temple is I am religiously uh, accustomed to one particular religion, so I visit temples. So if you visit mosques, you will get a different experience. If you visit churches, you again will get a different experience. That's why you guys are asked to do some heritage building that you have visited, and you can explain all these terms from your perspective. So the Q bank is designed in that way, so you can put forth your ideas. So I am talking about it because my religion affiliation is different from yours, so that's the reason why I'm putting all these examples. So yes, so this was a temple I visited some years ago, and this similar to Tiruvannamalai. I'm just taking you around. So here again, you will see um, open, void, light, dark, degrees of darkness, degrees of lightness. I mean, degrees of light and degrees of darkness will vary from space to space, and you will find interesting thresholds. Thresholds, as in from one space to another, you will have interesting framings like the entrance of your house or like the gopuram of the temple. There is a pause, and then you cross the threshold, and then you move on to a different spatial experience. So you can get all that here. So I'm moving around the circumambulatory path, but I'm looking back and taking a picture, because you move in clockwise in the temple. So I'm looking back and I'm taking a picture. Again, this is the front view as per my movement path, and this is from there I'm turning back and taking a picture. So these are the beautiful views that I'm getting. So here I'm inside darkness, I can see light outside, and I'm in an enclosure, and I can see open spaces in front of me, ahead of my space, or the space by itself as a, if I consider it as a threshold. So moving forward, I would see this frame, so beautiful frames, and as I move, my experience of the place will unfold, it will move, and so such is the beauty of the term kinesthetics, and this is the one term that I would relate to many of the traditional space experience, be it Juma Masjid or Agra Fort or the Fatehpur Sikri, wherever you have multiple colonnades and beautiful ornate um, colonnade structures, you will get this view. And also there are interesting pathways around the build structure. You will get that interesting thing. So there is a path, there is movement, and there are spaces which is enclosed, semi-enclosed, fully open, etc. So I'm moving along the path. So yeah, so this I've just shown one half of the circumambulatory path, and the pictures clicked in that zone. So this is what we saw in that Tiruvannamalai temple also sometime, the beginning of this theory class. So what is more, what is your experience? And if you are a repeated visitor, how will you experience one space? Because that is cognitive memory. Only once you visit a temple, that's perceptory, more like you are just grasping whatever you are able to take it in. Okay, I'm moving on to theory of aesthetics. Let's not delve into it. So the next thing that I was talking to you about first was kinesthetics. If I want to reinforce the two terms, we looked at time and space and we looked at kinesthetics. Okay. So now we are going to just look at the duality. Okay. Duality is, as I said, that it is ever present in Eastern philosophies and everything where you think of two forces. So this is literally one South Asian example, and this is the Indian answer for the yin and yang, where two things coexist. So how do the two happen? Whether they are happening as one within the other, or whether they are happening as one unit in a whole, or as a whole and a unit. Yeah, it might be looking like some Kamal Hassan's dialogue, but yeah, this makes a lot of sense if you can relate it to some example that you keep visiting or something like that. அந்த ரொம்ப குழப்பற மாதிரி இருக்கிறதுனா நீங்க இந்த விஷுவல்ஸ் பார்த்தா உங்களுக்கு பெட்டரா இருக்கும். World within world is so firstly we're looking at duality as in two opposite strong forces. So how are they going to exist? They can happen one within the other, just like how um, we call it the Atma and the Brahma. Atman is nothing but yourself, Brahman is the unknown, and when you so firstly we look at this. Okay, in duality, so I'm just repeating it because since it's a new term and it's not like floor plane, wall plane, roof plane, this is something different. I'm just repeating it so that it stays in you. So firstly we're going to look at how one within the other is going to evolve, like a atom in a multiple what to say, a compound, or how multiple atoms come together to form chemical and things like that. I hope you remember that chemical diagram, 2D or 3D. So some two or three carbon join together, two hydrogen joins with the oxygen. So it's like that. How the interrelationship happens. That is what is he's trying to explain with these three. So this is his definition. I'm not theorizing, or I have not done the research. I'm just putting in my perspective and my examples from my understanding. So he talks about how unity and diversity, world within world. So Tamil Nadu is part of India, but still we are our own world, right? We have our own unique identity, but still we embrace the concept of being Indian. Similarly, all our states have their own identity, but still we try really hard to be part of the same. Okay. So there will be overlaps. See, world within world, part as a whole, the whole as a part. Everything is like overlapping at some point because it's all very subjective. This entire subject and the way I'm approaching it is kind of very, very subjective. So yeah. So a courtyard is something like that. See, in a whole residence, or a multiple residences, if you take a Chettinad house and all, it's like a whole extended family of 7, 8 small nuclear families residing together. So here what happens is this entire central courtyard becomes a space of a small world within the house. So the world can be considered as the world itself, the house can be a world, or the smaller inner one would be a world within the world, or whichever. Let me not become more like Kamal Hassan. So each entity is complete. At the same time, just like I was telling about what to say, pluralistic society, when we take overall India and then one state, and within the state we have multiple societies and things like that. So this was one architectural example that I would say the same. Also, if you can take a temple or a palace, again, it applies to everything. Even Chettinad houses are palaces. So it is applicable to many of such. You can give an example for this from your perspective. And again, the overlaps will be there because firstly, we are looking at how it happens as world within a world, the duality, that is two different things um, within a component or anything like that. So I'm just taking a literal architectural example. So world within a world is nothing but there is a small world within the house or as a courtyard. So that's my interpretation of it. And part as a whole and the whole as a part. So see, when you look at a thali, see, I'm also looking at not just architectural examples to explain this. It is also one component would be a part by itself, but it all together becomes a unique output, right? Just like India, the diverseness, at the same time, multiple flavor, multiple cultures here becomes multiple flavors and other things. So this part whole relationship, I'm just trying to, I gave a very of the architecture example. Here, when we look at architecture as such, you can look at many of these merchant houses in Gujarat, the poles, the agraharams in Tamil Nadu, Kerala. They're all a whole, but individually they'll also become a part of somebody's house. But together they become a agraharam street by itself. They have something unique. At the same time, they have something that is different. So the pressings are within the boundaries are within for a family, but together they are a community as well. So that is part as a whole and whole as a part, my interpretations. They exist together. At the same time, if they are counterparts, how will we look at it? Again, there are a lot of overlaps as well here and there. So when you totally avoid light inside, so this is a little example directly from the book as well. So light is totally not here, but still what happens is because of this darkness, you understand the value of light. So there might be no ornamentation on one particular building, but because of the lack of ornamentation, you also understand that ornamentation is not present, or maybe in one particular panel there is more ornamentation in that entire building, and the rest is left free. So this is an opposite. Like here, it is about darkness and the light, or the enclosure and the void ahead. Whereas it could be ornamentation or and the lack of ornamentation as well. I hope no one slept off so far. So yes, so the exact example that he talks about are these carvings that are found in Ellora, the Kailash Nada temple. So this is an view from inside of the space. Yes, again I'm trying to bring that picture. You can relate to a single example in many of the. I think you're seeing this picture for the third time. So again, here there is enclosure, but here you have openness. Here it is enclosed. You are safe. It is like a refuge in times of rain or anything. Again, you don't have too much of light here. And again, this is securing you from the harsh sunlight if it's really going to be a summer or anything. So open, close, dark, light. So in that way, how it is coexisting. Here it was negation. One was not present while the other was present. So here it is fully dark, light is in the outside. So here it is fully closed, the light is in the outside. Whereas here it becomes more like an yin and yang. It is partially bringing in the light, partially open. So it is coexisting. So we are looking at the three categories of, I'm reinforcing again and again because we are looking at opposites as counterparts. I don't know how many of you are following me so far. Suddenly it's a very heavy topic and I'm not discussing anything. I'm randomly rushing. Okay. So yeah. So here you see how they both coexist. And again, I'm just taking light and shade as a play. And I'm explaining these three. Okay. Here you don't have light inside. It is negated. It is totally not there. It is outside. But they still are summing up to each other in different ways. Here they are balanced and they are coexisting. And here what happens is one kind of gives an identity to another. So rather than this, no, this is a better example. This is a Jolly work, I believe. I forgot where this example is from. But you know what? Here they are behaving like a what to say, one giving an identity to another, or one complementing the other, just like how we talk about it in complementary schemes, color scheme, in that way. So we were looking at, what were we looking at? Duality of existence. So I think I rushed up in a very fast way. Guys, did you guys understand anything from the second, the first and second? We looked at kinesthetics, time over space. Anyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, or was I rushing? Because these we had to deliberate. I would want you to give input and all that, but you know what? This was a very short STEM and shorter than any of the other event semesters that I've ever seen. So yes, so I hope you guys got the idea. I'll be sharing all this with a little more descriptions and all that. So please go through it. Any doubts or any thing, like, I'm just giving you two wide ranges of space making, two ideas of space making, or two principles from Yatin Pandya's perspective. He has, if you had gone to any library in your college or any other college, like your BIAC or our college also, you will see his books, because council had forwarded all his research works in the format of books to all the colleges. So his works are very neat. He's like the kind of DK Ching for form, space, and order. No, he's done similar work in Indian traditional Indian architecture. He has references even from the south, a few temples and all that. Madurai, he had explained from a perspective of DK Ching. He kind of dwells into